to One Quick Question with Infomedia, your source for answers to your questions about websites, digital marketing, and more. I'm your host, Carrie Rollwagon, and I'm here with our marketing manager and also producer of One Quick Question, Elena Harmon. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here.
Of course.
So we are talking about kind of like techniques for like getting things done more on the podcast and how we kind of hack our days to get stuff done. So I wanted to talk to you about kind of timers and like setting timers to do your work, because I know that you do this because I've heard about a mushroom.
Yes, I do have a very cute mushroom timer.
Yeah. I think Elena was telling everybody in the office that she got this timer, and I think everybody was just like, are you going to bring a timer in here?
Everyone was like, so does it make noise?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of timer is it?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to use it at home. You
Yeah.
just don't have to worry about it. I wouldn't torture anyone else in the office with a constant ticking sound.
Yeah. So how do you use, like, let's start there. Like, how do you use the mushroom?
Yeah. So, and if you're wondering why I got a mushroom timer, it's because things like that, like anything that gets me excited to use it is what I try to go for, because it might be a placebo, but I think it's really helpful. Like if you get something to help you with productivity or really anything, like get one that you like, get one that you think is cute, because you'll reach for it, whatever you think. Not that it's cute, but just that it's useful. It's
okay that it's cute. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if at Starbucks, when I used to work there, we had these little timers that were like magnetic. And like, I feel like when I hear that, I have a visceral reaction that's not good. That would not be the timer to use.
Right. Yeah. You'll hear people talk about this with like your phone alarm too. And I guess with your phone alarm, you would want to have like a really bad sound so that you actually are ready to like turn it off quick and wake up. But I think, just having something that you're excited to reach for is helpful. And,
that didn't work out well for me when I got married, because mine was like I think it was like a motorcycle sound.
Your phone alarm?
Yeah, and Russell was like, I don't want to wake up to a chainsaw every morning.
Well, my phone alarm makes me do 3 math problems in a row to turn it off. That is the level of tired that I've reached.
That makes sense.
It's really not even the level of tired. It's just I've always been hard to wake up. But
I would never be able to solve them in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, it's difficult sometimes if you saw me trying to do it and not really like being able to do the most basic math problem. You would. Yeah. It's quite funny to be a fly on the wall. But I'm a very time-oriented person, and I also have like issues with time management. So I recently was like, what are some new techniques I could use to help me become more productive? And again, like I said, it might be a placebo kind of thing, but I think that for me, something about it, like turning the timer on, and then especially when I'm using the actual timer and when I'm working at home, like it starts clicking. Like I don't know if you've ever heard, my great-grandmother when I was little had one of those timers that she would use while she was cooking, and like she would turn it on and it would automatically just be like the whole time, and it's like the entire hour or however long you have it. It just makes you feel like you're racing against time, which you kind of are.
Yeah.
But something about it, I'll turn the timer on, it's almost like it activates my brain, and I'm like, okay, that's it. Like I'm getting started.
Yeah.
And then I work until the timer goes off.
I mean, I think that makes sense. So like there's a book, The Power of Habit, and it talks about like creating habits. And he says like the more senses you can use, the better. So I think that's true. Like the tactile nature of like turning the thing on the timer, the mushroom or whatever, and also hearing it, like you're engaging more senses, and that does like tell your brain like we are working now.
Yeah. What happens for me more often than not is I'll hear the clicking. I'll be working for an hour or whatever. And the timer that I have only goes up to an hour. I'm sure you could get one that has a longer amount of time on it, but mine is an hour. And I notice quite often when I'm using it that I'll look at it and the time's almost up, and I'll be like, let me go ahead and put another hour on this. I don't even need to stop and take a break, because I've gotten so into like a productive state that I don't want to stop working.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the break feels unnecessary, but other times it feels very necessary, and it helps me to, switch to the next task or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I actually use a timer in almost the opposite way. So I feel like, and I think that's just depends on like what you need at the time.
Mhm.
But especially when I'm writing, like I have a sand timer that's like you literally flip it upside down and the sand, whatever, but it's 15 minutes. And a lot of times when I'm writing, I use that because when I'm writing, like once I get in the flow, like I don't want to be reminded. Like I don't want to hear the timer because I'm in the flow. I'd rather just stay there.
Mhm.
So if I set a timer on my phone, that is like doesn't work. But the sand timer is good because it runs out and I don't notice and I'm just working. But I have also found that especially with writing, if I struggle for 15 minutes to try to do it and it's just not coming, it's just not going to come. Like
Mhm.
it's way better for me to go on to something else. So it helps me because I'm like, if I'm just staring at the sand timer, like, why aren't you running out? And it has run out. I'm like, okay, I have permission to stop because this is not going to work right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And for me, one thing is like I also have a dog who's very scared of everything. And so like when the timer does go off, she gets really scared. And she freaks out and it's like a jump scare. And it's also a jump scare for me. And then it's like a whole scene because she jumped out of her bed and now I'm, trying to calm her
So
down.
Is that why you keep working? Well, Lena's just like working 12-hour shifts so that Demi doesn't freak out.
Yeah, that's why. No, I mean, oftentimes it really is just because I'm already kind of in the flow of things, but sometimes I do want to avoid that really loud, shocking sound of the timer going off. And on that same note, like I do still like to use this method when I'm in the office and when I'm working with other people. I sit in an office with like
Seems
a
like
lot
a
of other
million
people.
people.
Yeah.
But it's
Yesterday, like
6.
everyone was there,
Yeah.
which was weird because they're not usually, but
Yeah.
pretty busy office. And so I wouldn't want to be annoying everyone with my timer that keeps going off and ticking and everything else. And so there's this app that I found the other day, and there's also just YouTube videos that you can look up, like Pomodoro technique is technically, I guess, what this is called. It's using a timer, and there's like an official probably amount of time that it is, but it's really just like having a long work session and then taking a break and then doing it again. There's YouTube videos on it, and there's also an app called Flow, and I got it on my iPad, and it's, if you like a visual, it does give you a visual, and you can just press play and pause whenever you want, and it gives you that like visual countdown once again, but it just doesn't make any noise.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of like the sand timer
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
Or I think you can make it, like you can
like adapt it to where it does what you want.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Make
think
it
so.
notify you if you want to or whatever.
Maybe a less shocking, maybe something that doesn't scare your dog.
Yeah. Something that's not so much of a jump scare.
I really feel like a mushroom timer should have a cuter sound, right?
Right. I
Should
know.
have like
I
a
don't
little-
really know why it has to be that shrill,
Yeah.
horrible.
Like I have this little egg cooker from Japan, and it plays like the funniest little song at the end.
Aw.
Like, they should really incorporate that into the mushroom makers of the world. Listen up.
But honestly, that just goes to show, like, you could probably find a themed timer for just about anything.
Yeah, definitely.
But I just got that one because I thought it was cute.
Yeah, definitely. Well, cool. Thank you for sharing about timers. I do think it's like we talked about whether or not this merited an episode before, and I think it's like it does seem basic. So like I feel silly telling people about it too, but it is something that like I forget, and then when I'm reminded, it's like, oh yeah, this actually works. And sometimes it's just like you just use it until you get back in the habit. But
yeah, I mean, you can ask Carrie. Carrie's my boss, so like I work with her very closely, and I struggle a good bit with. I just have a lot on my plate, a lot of the time. But I told Carrie sometimes it's just like a new thing that you try that can really change your life, honestly. And I got my timer in. I started using it for one day, and I was like, this shouldn't be like probably affecting me this much, but I really felt like I just had the most productive day I'd had in forever.
No, I think and anything that works that way, like even the sand timer thing, like I actually found one that was like 2 minutes, and I was like, this is silly. But then I thought at the time, like my work was so busy that I felt like so frantic, and it actually really helped to be like, no, you're gonna concentrate for 2 minutes, and then I would be in like, okay, I've got it. Because it was that first 30 seconds that you're like, oh, like, I just want to look at Instagram because I want to pretend like this doesn't exist. And just getting me past that point was super helpful. So
it really is. The struggle is just to start. Most of the time, it is just to start, and it's like with a timer, it literally gives your brain that like 3, 2, 1, go, and now you're racing against
Yeah,
time kind of thing.
exactly.
So I do think it's
Yeah.
actually really helpful.
Well, can you link to your mushroom timer in the show notes?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
And I'll link to the Flow app as well.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Well, one quick question is brought to you by Infomedia.
Carrie is the host and creator.
Elena is our producer. And our theme music is by Brad Davis. And our sound engineering is done here in the Infomedia studios.
You can find show notes for anything we talked about today, or find out what Infomedia can do for your website at infomedia.com/quickquestion.
And we'll leave you with this thought. A real expert helps to clarify, not confuse. So don't take website advice from someone who can't give you a straight answer.